Welcome. This is the DNX Show. We're here every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. There's two hosts to this show. My name's Todd Ryan. My co-host is Josh Reason. We do this every week to talk about domain investing. We have an open discussion whether we like it or not. Hey, Josh, how are you this afternoon? What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Todd? Nothing much. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Thanks for asking. Anyway, me and you, we got this thing covered. Fucking, we got so many topics. Josh, I got, if the, at the DNX.show or DNXShow.com, you can see, so that's some of the shit Todd wants to talk about. But I got a whole list of other things too that we'll touch on. But we have no shortage today. For some reason, Paul and Ragu wanted to come up early. Okay, it's risky. You know that. But I'm going to go ahead and give Paul was up first, and then Ragu, what did you guys want to say real fast? And then we'll, of course, stay on stage, but then we'll get going with the topics. What's going on, Paul? Nice to see you.
What's up, gentlemen? No, I was just going to give you some company before Josh got up here. You were talking about sports, and I thought maybe we'd throw the the NBA rigging topic up. But let's just get right into domains. I guess there's a lot to do there. I'll go back in the audience and let the bosses take over.
No, you just stay on stage until we fill. But anyway, that is important about the, gambling. I was reading about that. Chauncey Billups, coach of the Portland Trailblazers, caught it, I guess, and the guy out of Miami, he said he was clean. But yeah, pretty big deal. I don't know what the rules are, as we'll, maybe research some of this. And what I mean is the rules, I guess in college, they're allowing college players to actually, gamble or on the stuff.
Yeah, I'm in Vegas right now for this 8th Fest, and I was looking at the picks for yesterday at Fountain Blue. I took pictures of it, uploaded it to ChatGPT, and I said, "Give me your best pick." 3 out of 4. I knocked out 3 out of 4. I think there is big, and then I'm listening to YouTube videos about all these handicappers talking about their picks, blah blah blah. At the end of the day, I think there's going to be some sort of an AI tool that is going to gather all the predictions from all these handicappers and be able to be very specific just about picking these games. So it's still early, but I think there's something here with this. Just the fact that you just upload this into ChatGPT and it just goes through every single one and tells you the best picks, and not bad, 3 out of 4. So
yeah, it's great. And I heard that it actually picked somebody's lottery ticket. My wife said. But thanks for being here, Paul. Thanks, Ragu. I'm going to get to you right now, but I wanted to say to everybody, it's an open discussion. We're going to talk about a lot of domain investing topics today. We definitely like to hear from folks. Ragu, how are you this morning?
Good morning and good afternoon. I'm fine, thank you. Just surviving, but spirit is high. But Todd, I just wanted to request, humble request. I want a permanent seat, just like a UN. The United Nations asked for a permanent seat in security for some countries. I want all your shows, your law show, your DNX show, your sports show. I want a permanent seat in speaker, okay? And is my demand. And because remember at Clubhouse, I was looking for green bean. I never got it. Now I'm trying at this X place space, which I want a permanent seat by default. And I will protest
Only
if you
only
don't get it.
permanent only permanent seats here are for me and Todd.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
that's a verbal on a no. But go ahead, Josh. Yeah, but and you know
It
how it
doesn't
goes.
matter. It doesn't matter you deny or you do. I'm going to keep trying till I die.
Hey, we got a lot of topics, and we certainly want to, want everybody to participate. Josh, I wanted to get rolling today with your fasting, though, before we get to all the domaining topics, because I liked it that you said, one, I would ask, what made you want to do it? What's the story behind your fasting?
Honestly, a friend of mine sent me a video after church on Sunday, and just it was related to fasting, and I just made a decision at that point that I was just going to do a 3-day fast, and I did, and it was good, and it wasn't that hard. The evenings were kind of difficult because I sit down with the family and have dinner and whatnot, and that was somewhat difficult. But other than that, it was fine. During the day, I just normal day as usual. Did all the activities that I would usually do. I slept great each night, and then on the fourth day, I started eating, um, which was like yesterday afternoon. Yeah, I recommend it. It's something that I'll probably do again. Maybe do, you know, twice a year or something like that, just to kind of reset your body. I think it makes sense. It's cool. It's also just hard, like good to do things that are not necessarily easy. I like I like challenging myself. I didn't find it much of a challenge, but it's just something different, something that is not necessarily a common thing to do. So yeah, it was cool, good experience. Highly recommend it.
I've done it for a couple of days, but I mean, I think just two. But let me ask you. So, Josh, when you said you were irritable, that all of us can relate to that. And I'm not expecting you to be an expert now. I'm sure you did a little research on fasting. But so you're irritable, but then I noticed you thought your body was responding positively. Is that because of you were looking at an app and it said everything was looking good, or you were feeling good? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I felt good. Like my energy were not low. uh, with energy. I was irritable, I would say, because it wasn't like there's no getting away from the fact that I was hungry, specifically in the evenings. Like when I'm, because the evenings for me, I'm kind of winding down, having conversation with family, eating dinner, and that's a habit for us. And not watching, the rest of the family eat while I just kind of sat there was somewhat irritable, I would say. But other than that, it was great.
And final question was, why do they say it's dangerous about when you come off the fast? Like they're afraid you're going to eat too much and your belly's going to hurt. I mean, what's the danger there?
Mm. Yeah, everyone said that to me. Actually, a couple of friends were like, "Yeah, just when you get off the fast, take it easy, have like a off and something super light." I didn't do that. I had a full breakfast burrito at like 11 a.m. yesterday, and I will say that after eating it, I did feel a little shitty. Like it didn't feel great, but after about an hour or so, I felt fine.
With the fucking Brazilian blowout. No, it really wasn't Brazilian, but a Mexican blowout had a burrito. I mean, all your friends were probably
That's right.
saying, it's exactly what they were talking about not doing. Hey, well, no order of any of the topics today. Like I said, Ragu, thanks for joining us. Paul already left the stage, but anybody wants to join the stage, please raise your hand, and we're going to talk about quite a few things. On the outline, I had something from last week I wanted to just touch on. Who cares? Quickly. We got so many things to cover. But Josh, about data, we'll jump right in. The importance of reading data, but how to read it. You made just comments about it. What comments can you share with domain investors about when you say it's important to read the data and then but how to read it? What type of data is important? And you've shared before, but please get into why you mentioned this in the last couple of weeks about the importance of data. Yeah, you're on mute if you were talking.
Oh, sorry. So was that Tony's post that said like data interpretation is one of the most important things
Yep.
for a domain investor? Was it that one?
Yep.
And then I responded with like data, like basically interpreting the data correctly is the most important part of that, because I think that a lot of people meant by that, right? And it's clear what Tony's saying as well, but I was just um, kind of adding to that is that, and I think it is somewhat of an important caveat, is that I think a lot of domain investors think that they're um, interpreting data, but they're not always interpreting it the right way. Um, so, I've talked a lot, like you said, I've talked a lot about like where I mean, I've talked a lot about like interpreting data and looking at it and saying like okay, these are the patterns that make the most sense, or these are the patterns that companies are using, or these are the patterns that companies are paying the highest dollar amount for. There's a lot of data out there, and just because a certain piece of data says this and another piece of data says that, um, I think that you've got to sometimes dig a lot more deeper than level might say. Name bio might be, right? Um, but that might be wholesale data, um, and retail might look different. There are lots and lots and lots of caveats to interpreting data, that you may interpret data one way and it could be the complete wrong way to interpret it from an investment strategy. So you've just got to be really careful about that. I think the best way to make sure that you're doing the right thing for you and your investment strategy is by using lots and lots and lots of different data sets, right? If you're just using like name bio, for example, it might not be giving you the most wholesome results. But then if you're using that in combination with LinkedIn, Crunchbase, Trademarkia, or some other trademark lookup, uh, corporate searches, Google searches, um, social media searches, and getting a more rounded approach, I would say, you're more likely to have um, a better understanding of the whole picture. That's kind of what I meant by that. All right, it's like I hope that kind of makes sense. I'm kind of it may not have been completely clear, but I think that kind of summarizes how I feel about it.
No, that's good. And Josh, so that's good. Great transition to before. I wanted to talk about your DNX 2.0. So this DNX 2.0 version. And for those of you who aren't familiar with DNX, it's a platform that Josh built with some engineers, but basically it allows you to find domains in the aftermarket that are listed on Afternic, Cedo, and Atom. But I want to ask you two things, Josh. Before you get in, or tell us a little bit about the 2.0 version and what's new, but also how are you going to incorporate data into how you're building DNX? Like what type of data sets do you consider or do you see, as being part of DNX, if it even makes sense as a question,
Yeah,
but you know what I mean?
no, yeah, no, that's a great point. I think honestly, the best thing to do is for me right now is just to wait until we finish completely rolling it out. There are some people even in the audience that have been using some of the new features that are not necessarily 100% public yet, but I actually think that they all will be public by the end of the day. We've just been doing like a slow rollout, but essentially we just want to provide more tools to give you it's just like adding more things into your toolbox, giving you more ways to be a successful domain investor. And yeah, I mean, what you see today is just one product of many that are in the works. And everything that we're building is just designed to enhance your ability to buy and sell domain names, whether you're an investor, an end user, or what have you. And the tools that I feel like I might need on a daily basis are essentially the tools that I'm going to be providing everyone else through DNX. So I can tell you that as a domain investor myself, you know, I use DNX, and I continue to build tools that I would want to use as a domain investor. So and I think most people uh, think that I'm a pretty decent domain investor, and so essentially I should be able to build helpful tools for everyone. That's kind of the bet, and that's what we're doing. So, and that we're going to take things a few steps beyond that, but that's how these things get started. And I think that as a builder and aspiring entrepreneur, I guess, I think that's how these kind of successful products businesses get started, right? Is like normally you're trying to solve a problem, or you're trying to fill a gap in the market that helps you in some way, or something that pain points that you've experienced, and then just take it from there, and just keep building and keep kind of like filling in these gaps, and addressing the pain points that you have. And if you're experiencing them, yeah, then um, there's a good chance that other people are experiencing them too. So that's essentially the whole ethos of why I build within the domain space, and that's kind of like what the ethos will continue to be.
It's what domain investors like another domain investor, building a tool that, and especially Josh, you do this, full time, 24/7. So they like, no, if you plan on using this, it's not that there's not other tools, other great stuff out there to use, but it's nice. It's sort of like you do the work, you're plowing through the fields, and then a lot of us, follow in. I wanted to, before we do a quantum shift, to talk about you picking up that name and the AI aftermarket, because I think sometimes it seems a little overpriced. Before we leave DNX, so Drew Rosner said he bought Killer Whale off there. What was he doing? Just scanning. When he says he buys it through DNX, he just happened to find it. Do you know, was it on Afternic, Cedo? What about that
Mm.
pickup? How much did he pay for that? Do you know?
Yeah, I do. I won't say, just because you can find it, right? If you're um, you could probably find out, but I won't say, just because I don't say for any of the people that I help buy names for. And I know that he wouldn't mind, but just as a general practice, I think that he got a great name, a great name at a great price. Um, Most people could probably guess the kind of range that you pay
Was
for
it
that
Afternic or
name.
Cedo? Buy it now, one of those. I mean, is it
Yep, yep,
okay?
yep.
Not an
Exactly.
Atom.
It was an after Nick. Buy it now. We made an offer first. The seller said they were firm, um, and Drew decided, it was good enough to take at that price, and I think he was right. And I think it's a really cool name, and that particular name had been on the market for a little while. Like Darcy mentioned, actually, he responded, but the market is inefficient, and there are lots of names out there that even the best domain investors, like Drew, um, don't necessarily have the time to find. So, DNX helps make that a little easier, and we intend to keep making it easier, so that we can get the right names in the right people's hands at the right time.
For no reason, I invited Darcy up here. Only because the guy he likes to say a bunch of stuff. He just doesn't say it verbally. So we're trying to get him to say something up here. Um, and as we before, I'm sure he'll mosey on up in his own pace. I haven't invited anybody up today. Um, I do appreciate Ragu being here, because we are going to have an open discussion. So anybody else, please raise your hand, come on up. But Josh, so this quantum shift, you
Mm.
basically were watching it, and it didn't sell at auction, and then it dropped, and then you registered it. I mean, is that the whole process? I mean, it actually was at auction, it named cheap and no bids.
Yeah, so I believe the process looks something like this. Namecheap get first look at basically all the names. They go to an auction. If there's no bids, you have the ability to back order the name, um, and um, and then try to catch it on the drops. And I don't think there are a lot of people that are doing that at the moment, to be honest, just because there's been a lot of changes with the way that the .ai works after it shifted to Identity Digital. But that's how it works. And yeah, nobody bid on that name, and nobody back ordered it, so it ended up just dropping and being available to hand register. I don't spend a lot of time looking into .ai, so it was a bit of a coincidence that I was just looking and I saw that name, and I couldn't honestly. Um, I obviously felt the need to go out and write a post about it on X, which, dozens of things happen on a daily basis that I'm somewhat surprised or interested in within the domain world. But I do think that that one's pretty significant because I don't know. Matter of opinion, maybe, or maybe you don't think that's a great name. It is. I'll tell you right now, it is a good name for a hand registration in .ai. It's not like amazing, but it's relative to what people are spending on .ai names. It just shows the inefficiency that still exists with domain investing, even in the absolute hottest possible extension. Um, which is, it's good to see. It's nice to see. It just means that what we have is very special and unique, and there are opportunities for everyone. You don't need to worry about hiding, because or like being secretive about what you're doing. Yeah, sure, you can be. I won't judge you for it. Like most 99.99% of people are, but at the same time, like there's plenty of opportunity to go around, because just like everyone can't be on everything. So
Um, Josh, I'm loving this because I'm laughing because I'm thinking we're mates, we're younger, we're on the West End, and you wearing a shirt, and I'm looking at you like, where'd you get this fucking shirt at? And you're like, and it's got like shoulder pads, and you go, it's cool, it's a cool shirt, believe it. You don't know what the fuck is cool. This is cool. It's like you told me about the name. It's cool. You might not think it is. This is a cool shirt. Okay, quantum, quantum quantum shift is cool, but I think, what I think is awesome. I saw Dave, who's here, mentioned in that post that he bought some quantum visit or quantum something in the .com. Well, as the .com, even though it's still now over $10 at GoDaddy, I know I just renewed. I don't know, $2,500 worth of bullshit. Um, and I probably could have saved money, transferring it to Dynadot or Unstoppable, and even just a couple, say 250 names. Um, you can really save money by moving them around. So sometimes I do,
mm,
sometimes I don't anyway. But the point is, so as these .coms, yeah, we take a flyer, Dave buys a couple of them, 20, $25, maybe even less. You get them at Dynadot for 18 bucks. People are doing Quantum Shift is good. You get it in the .ai. A lot of folks are like, even I mean, all of us think so if it's real good, it's gone in the .com many times, but if it's good enough, you think, okay, Quantum Shift in the .ai. So they're just making a fortune over at this registry because people are considering it as uh, basically it's a hot extension. Investors were like, fuck it, we'll register these names. And we never did this in the past. $75 was like, fucking, are you kidding? $70 a name, per year. And we just wouldn't do it. It was just way off the chart. Now it's like just part of, we just feel like it's worth it, like you did with that one. Now, you did also say investors are overpaying in the aftermarket for .ai because now they are paying a lot in the thousands for some two words, some really anything that's a single word, they're really paying for, even if it's a weird word with an ed or a prefix or suffix or ing even. But go into that a little bit about why you think investors may be overpaying
mm,
in the aftermarket for .ai.
for sure. The AI market is honestly extremely dangerous, in my opinion, for a lot of investors, because there are some big sales happening, and it looks like from the outside in that they are happening very frequently. And these things can be true while also being a bit of it like an investment trap. And I've had calls with investors that have said, hey, can I pay you to just to chat to go over my portfolio? I've got all these .ai names, and I've got them priced here, and I'm not selling any, and I've invested so much. We're coming up to the 2-year renewal, and I'm like, yeah, yeah. I mean, you're not selling any because they're priced incredibly high, right? If you, and they say, well, this guy sold this for that much, and this one sold that for that much. My name, this name is pretty similar in quality, and whether or not that's true is another question. But let's just assume that it is as good. Um, these are outlier sales. Do you know who have the absolute best? The absolute best portfolio of .ai names is the Namecheap portfolio, and Richard has been reporting all these .ai names for a very, very long time. And how often have you seen him from his own portfolio report a six-figure sale? You can count on your hands how many he has, how many times he has, and most of the time he's reporting five-figure sales in the third sort of. They've got higher over time, but you know, last year or the beginning of the year they were normally around like 30, 40, 50K. They've crept up a little bit recently, getting into the high five-figure range, but these are top SLDs that Richard has held for years already, and these are the best of the best .ai names. And he moves them now occasionally for 100K or 90K or whatever. And you know, I'm seeing investors like poo-poo six-figure offers and be like, no, I need to get 500K. Wisdom.ai just sold for 750, and I wouldn't consider high five figures on this name. I paid 5K for it a year and a half ago. I wouldn't consider five figures. Like, what are you talking about? Like, these are different. Like, I get that it's hot right now, but this is a very, very different asset to like a high value.com. And I think that even the best investors, in my opinion, are a little bit blinded by what we're seeing in the market and the euphoric. I mean, I get it, euphoric usage from end users as well. But every day, you know, .ai names are hitting the market, and certainly every week, decent .ai names are coming up. And so, like, how often do you see top one.coms coming to market? Almost never, right? You can count on your hand how many times that happens in a year. And when they do, they go astronomically high because, and to the point where most of the time it's an end user that ends up getting it. These names, the reason why oneword.coms, you see investors saying, I'm turning down 250, down 300, I'm turning down 500K, is because they actually can't replace names. It's not like you can go out, sell a really good oneword.com and buy another one. You literally can't, because they're replaceable. One word AI names, as valuable as they are, and as hot as they are replaceable. It's not the same. So what I mean by that is, like, if you buy a name for 10, 15K, 20K, and you can go and churn it, someone comes along and says, I'll give you 90K for it, and there's maybe one serious end user, to consider taking that money. I go and replace it with 3 or 4 similar names, because you can, right? You can. So yeah, I think we gotta be careful, and then just in general, um, yeah, I think that people are generally just pricing by high. It's a lot. Yeah, what's interesting is I imagine this in some data.
Your audio is your
I've seen
audio is
this
shaky
personally.
right now. It's going in and out. It was going in and out a
Is it?
tiny bit, and then you're back on, and it's fine. But it was really getting rough there. I mean,
Can you hear me
sometimes
okay now?
yeah, now it's better. Well, Josh, about this, well, I agree with you. Okay, so not to beat up the guy, Go.ai. I thought, I'm thinking Disney contacted a broker because they can afford to just go, okay, we'll do 1.4. I know several companies can, okay? We know millions of companies can, and Go is great, but no one would want Go more than Disney. And it's a weird type of thing, meaning you're going to really do something big on Go.ai, and everybody knows Disney has Go.com. So it made sense to me that Disney was like, like I was joking on the other show, they were in the metaverse. Disney's not some company that is not, they're really, um, what do we call it when we're
I
progressive?
don't think
You know, you don't think it was
with that guy. Oh, it might have been, but I don't give an awful lot of thought, honestly, to that deal. Whether it's real or not real, again, I'm not that concerned with. I just, first of all, he's not a domain investor. He's a builder. None of our logic as investors really applies to him. Um, yeah, like listen, as if you're an investor and you get that kind of offer, you take that offer. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and you mentioned what Richard, with all the great stuff over there, he and him and his partners, or however they have the holdings of all these .ai names, very few six-figure. Now I haven't seen the seven-figure, so right, very unusual to just turn it down. It'd be like go.gg. What if you were building on that because you love GG and somebody comes along and says, I want to buy for 1.4? You can build on other names. He hasn't, really, as we say in the legal area, he hasn't demonstrated any preparation to build on it yet. So, when it's real early on, it's easy to go, let me change my brand for, and spend 400,000, which is a lot on a domain, and pocket $1 million. But, people are just whatever. I mean, everybody's sitting with different, pockets, and they're, you're an investor, of course. I'm a domain investor. So when I look at my domain investing, I want to move stuff, even though I moved a name for 1995, Sola Cola. I'm in two negotiations right now. At least the Afternic brokers are in negotiations. One's on a .st, one of my new .st, and the thing is, when you're a domain investor, you want to, I mean, a true investor, it's almost like, I don't know, you're a gambler in the casino. Sometimes you do drag money off the table and you leave and you go to another table. I guess my point is there has to be some cash flow. So you're right. He's not a domain investor, so looks at it completely differently. And domain investors, no, you don't get solid, if it was solid, seven-figure offers all the time. Especially this wasn't on a singleword.com that many times there's great ones. I know, and I know a lot of folks have some great singleword.coms they've had for 20 plus years. They're still waiting for $1 million offers. So, okay, go.ai. Well, hopefully we see something built on it. There was another thing that you reposted. I'm going all over the place here. That you reposted about Andrew Tate says Bitcoin going to 26K. What did you think about that comment that he made? I'm not a fan of his, but him saying that Bitcoin's going to 26K ruffles a lot of feathers. I mean, he got a lot of people that are listening to, why would you say that? But what do you think about that comment? And is it I think it's anything certainly possible. The stock market could crash, absolutely. But what do you think about Bitcoin, the price, and predictions like that it could drop, substantially even below 50? Yeah, I can't hear you at all now. Can't hear you at all. Looks like you're off mute, but can't hear you at all. Ragu, can you hear Josh? Ragu's good for something. Ragu, can you hear Josh? Okay, no, he couldn't.
No, I can't hear him. Sorry, no.
Thank you. That's how you start earning a seat. Not a permanent one, but a seat. Anyway, okay, go back on mute. Just kidding. Josh is coming back up here.
I'm not a gatekeeper here, buddy.
You're not
I'm
a
not
gatekeeper?
here.
Don't get
No.
lippy. That's for you're in Yusef's room. You know that. I do like that room because that's exactly what we want. You run the motherfucker. Then you're running your own show, and everybody's saying, yeah, they couldn't hear Josh. As Josh, as soon as he see him in the room, I'll get him back up here. Obviously, I did want to say I wrote down notes right above the Tate says Bitcoin going to 26K. I have Mike Seiger sells 31 names in that contest for $39.90. The reason I bring it up, Mike, the reason people always mention you when you're in the room, Mike, is because that goofy blue background and your head stuck there. God damn. I mean, it's like, here's Mike. He's there. Okay, so he sold 31 names, $39.90. Andrew Alleman's in second place, 7 names for $405. But, I do agree with Mike that all that guy in last place that hasn't sold a name on their GoDaddy contest, you sell one, right, for $39.95, and the guy's in the lead. So I think some of them have the strategy of buying names and just hoping that they
Yeah. Hey,
at the very end. Yeah.
Todd, let's not talk about the coffee money here. I have another thing which you probably missed it. Cedo broker tweeted a couple days ago about um, 9 or 8 figure domain sale.
Yeah,
Do you know
Dave
anything about it?
Evanson, right? Which one was that
Yeah.
name?
No, he never
Oh, he did
disclosed
mention it.
that
That's
under
right. People were trying to guess.
NDA. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, what was your
So
guess?
I don't know. I don't even figure out what's the 8 figure domain means is. Like still at 4 figures, man. I don't know how to calculate what is the meaning of the 4 figure, 5 figure, 6 figures. He's talking about 9 or 8 figure. I have no idea what is that comes to. How many zeros and how many millions? I have no idea. But something very interesting that shows. And I was listening to Domain Shirpa another day about Rick guy, and he's talking about it. Now it's becoming common. 7 6 7 figure domain name sales are very common now these days. So it will be no surprise. Next level is 8 figure or 9 figure sales, and I'm optimistic about this type of sales all the time. And I really wanted to understand the Cedo sale, but let's see what happens further.
Well, we hear that we hear from a lot of guys that they're so in the know, right? They're so in the know. Now, the ones that we know are in the know, like Braden, who actually, if he says um, there's a bunch of 7, 8 figure sales that aren't reported, or Andrew Miller or Andrew Rosner, if they say there's a bunch that are reported, yeah, I tend to believe them. But those three plus dozens of others, hey, I mean, there's millions. We know there are. But there's the guys who aren't moving some names too that they just want you to, this is a big business. We know it's a big business, okay? But we know not, a very small percentage of people, very, very small, um, do a 7 figure deal. Okay, very few do 6 figure deals, but then just small percentage too, or make money at this thing. Okay, domainnames.com. I'm gonna bring that up to Josh, and as I see he's I don't even see him in here. He's just getting his connection back, I'm sure. Let me see here. Yeah,
Are
his
you
Wi-Fi.
all set to go to
This was throwing
NameCon?
people off. Um, I mean, earlier. That's what Paul got kicked off the stage anyway. But no regular. So domainnames.com. I was listening. If you guys want to listen to Andrew Alleman's podcast, he talks about his own sales so far this year. Go to dnw.com, click on podcast, and he mentions, not selling on domain names until he learns about the outbounding that they do. And I was like, I know he's got some names, but he's got some single word names I've never heard, got names. It takes some pretty tough names, pretty good ones to get them on domainnames.com. Okay. Looks to me like there's only 100, 150 so far. And anyway, at the beginning of Andrew's latest podcast at dnw.com, he talks about domain names, this new Afternic, ultra premium marketplace. And then he goes into his own sales so far this year. I'll mention a few things that he said, but I'm sure he'd like for you to listen to his podcast. And this one's only 20 minutes long. 10 minutes he talks about his sales. 10 minutes is news before that. But yeah, the domainnames.com. I was curious, anybody in the audience have anything on there? If you do, I'd love to, at least, I don't know, raise your hand. Sports Talk, you're on the air with Todd Ryan. Go ahead, caller. Anybody got one on there? One of those great names, because they only got a bunch of single words on there. They all look like, I guess they're not priced $1 million bullshit. Okay, so Media Wizard. It's a new member of the community. Okay. We know, Simon, when I asked, hey, does anybody have it on there? Simon, just come up and tell us
Hey,
that you do have one on there and just make up a name. Go ahead. What's up, Simon?
I just thought I'll come up and save you from that. especially since
I
Josh is
appreciate
not
it. I
around.
appreciate it. You know I do act like I don't. Yeah, I mean, this was like I
So,
was.
Dave Evanson posted a $1.1 million sale. It wasn't a 8-figure or 9-figure. It was a 1.1 million. That's how I read it in any case.
You're right.
Still a
That
good
was.
sale.
I made the
Anything over
comment about sorry
seven
about all the
figures.
decimals and then the extra two dots. But yeah, and then he had a list, right, Summit, of there was like 12 names that he's been brokering that are really good. People are trying to guess from that list what it could have been. But 1.1. He's
Honestly, for most of us, it doesn't make a difference. We don't have names of that caliber. I can understand people have this inflated sense of self that all my names are worth 10K or 20K. In actuality, they're mostly worth between 500 and mostly worth what you paid for them, actually.
yeah, yeah. I agree, and they think, but it's going up in price. So I did have a name that was worth 10,000 a few years ago. Now it's worth 50. In a couple of years, it's going to be a 6-digit name. And then if I hold in for 20 years and give it to my kids, then it's going to be $1 million asset. So I'm just going to hold. It's just like silly. Even when I was listening to, and I really liked what Andrew Alleman was sharing in his stuff, but he was saying, he did do an outbound sale, the real estate name that he contacted somebody, um, and Bruce. He said he bought it for. I'm talking to Bruce because he outbounds real estate names. He outbounded it, sold it for 4,000, but he bought it like within the past year for 500. And I think if you're outbounding and selling a name for 4,000 that you just bought, even though he did pay 500 on that, still a huge success. Even though it's an 8 times return, probably after it doesn't seem like there should be too much commission. But um, just one comment that Andrew did make was, I do know my names are worth a lot, so I just hold on and then sell them for thousands later. Well, not all names sell. I don't care. When you have 100, you have 1,000, you have 3,000. All the names aren't selling. So when you say, I'll just hold them and then I'll sell them for thousands later, what do you mean you'll sell them for thousands later? We're all in this together. You have a great hand, 2 aces. That's not a winner. Okay, a lot. There's all sorts of other cards that fall, and there's other, options. It's just, to me, I just can't help myself, but it's like doing this. It's like going a runner every day. No, some years are tougher than others. Okay, some hills are tougher than others. Some days the same hills. It's not, and then you start realizing this. Just this is not when I say easy, it's super difficult. So, but no one. It's just no fun to talk about. Let me get Josh back. No fun to talk about that part of it. That you're probably not going to make money. Well, yeah, you're just going to run people out of the room. What are we going to, talk about at
Did you
names
hear the
time?
Domora room a little earlier today?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you hear about the Domora did you listen in on the Domora room earlier this year? Earlier this day?
Was that
There was
today?
this guy there today. They were talking about this guy he owned agent.ai and agents.ai. And he sold it a couple of years back to Dharmesh. Dharmesh is also an investor in Domora, apparently, which I didn't know. And that's a very interesting take. I don't know who the guy was. I'm guessing he was part of the Domora team or something. Anyway, Josh is here. Carry on.
No, thanks, Samit. I'm going to check for a replay on that because I see John Barry Hill constantly saying this is the silliest thing he's ever heard of, and the different ways that a domain owner can sell parts of his name, you know, uh, less than 50%, and then, stiff these minority owners or come out of it smelling good. And there's several different scenarios he sets up. And then there's ways to try to prevent that if you're a buyer too. You don't buy in at don't buy in at retail. Don't buy in. You can't buy in at retail. But anyway, getting back to Josh, we were talking about domainnames.com. There's only 100 and some names on this new ultra premium Afternic thing. What's your take on it? Meaning, you have a couple names that I know of that could probably get on there. Are you interested in it? Do you need to see something first? How do you feel about this platform, the new one?
Um. Can you hear me?
Yep, sounds a
For
lot better.
start. Okay, good. Thanks. Sorry about that before, guys. So I have quite a lot of feelings in regards to it. um, you know, many positive, some are, you know, TBDs. I already have 12 names on there. So um, I have plenty. I have obviously plenty of faith in that, in the venture. Listen, go. I would say that I probably feel the same way that like the Castello Bros feel about the opportunity that is presented to investors here. Is that GoDaddy has done a lot for investors. They have an extremely large marketing budget, really big reach with end users, and uh, I have been told by them that this is going to be their kind of like in the aftermarket sense, one of their main focuses for 2026. Um, so I I'm bullish on it for that reason. If I didn't know, you know, I've always had a lot of faith in GoDaddy. It's no secret. I like GoDaddy. I think they do a lot for the space. But yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of the feedback that I've seen on it is totally valid. Um, I do think that there's a lot of work that they need to do. I think that they're behind the likes of, you know, Atom Ultra Premium Marketplace, and I think that that's kind of like the standard at the moment. Um, but you know, they've just launched. I think that this is kind of like a, hey, we want to get something out to the market, show people that we're serious about this, and then I believe that they're going to iterate beyond this in ways that, you know, could be pretty effective for people that have names listed on the platform. So, you know, as a initial rollout, it's fine. I think there's a lot to be desired, but overall, I'm pretty bullish on the project.
Jeez, 12 names on there already. You come in like, excuse me. There are some domain investors. You missed the Costello brothers. I said Mike lives across the street from me. Michael. I said across the street. I mean in the neighborhood across the street. See him drive by and all his different cars all the time. He sees me with my dogs and he waves like, "Look at me. I got cars. You got dogs." And I'm like, "I got two though." He's like, "I got six." Okay, but a lot of you guys big timers, you guys are at the big poker table. Remember like 10, 15 years ago, and I know you remember when poker was real popular and we knew all the top poker players. But I love it that so you guys, a lot of you are participating in the domain names in their launch so far. Now, what I wanted to ask you, Josh, is so knowing that they have all these names and well, two questions. One, do you have them priced or these are all make offer? And then talk about your sensible pricing strategy, meaning are you going to try to, with this ultra premium, what I'm guessing is when they do some big marketing and GoDaddy lets these huge other companies know domain names are hugely valuable, especially these ultra premiums. Get them while you can, meaning they're only say they only go up in price, even if you got to pay 1 or 2 million now. Are you going to try to be a price a little bit better than basically be somewhat aggressive on there, even though you're still going to be asking 6 and 7 figures?
Um, yeah, I would say that my statement in that area generally refers to lesser quality names. You know, this is generally like the cream of the crop, and I think that pricing is a little bit more uh, is not as affected. You know, uh, having said that, you know, I do price all of my names, whether they're priced at 500K or 1.5 million or what have you. I am pricing them. Um, so there's that. But you know, when I was referring to sensible pricing, I'm really just generally talking about like lower value names, right? Like 4 figure and 5 figure names. That I think that sometimes you move a name for 5K and then you see someone else move a name that maybe is lesser quality for 100K, and you're just like, what? Am I doing my pricing wrong, or is this not the way, or what? I think we've all kind of like been through that or had those feelings. So, but with the ultra premium names, let's call them, I do think that you want to price your names, unless they're like really, really amazing. I mean, I'll be honest, of the names that are on there, like the ones that I wouldn't price, out of the 140 that are on there, there's probably like 10, um, because they're that good. And that would be, and even then I would probably price them. I would just price them like super high, like 10 million or something, like harmony.com, for example. Um, so most other names, that are just like strong one word names, I would still price them. Um, and yeah, I think like trying to price them competitively is probably advantageous, when you're listing them in a marketplace format like this.
Um, okay, so I'm going to say a few things. We're going to go on for another hour, so join us on stage and make some comments. Thanks, Samit. Thanks, Raghu, for being here. Well, um, and then I did gather that from your sensible pricing strategy comment that you were talking about lower value names, but it made me think, Josh, with these like these great names on here. They are great, 140 great names. That there's one thing I think definitely is missing is the pricing, because you're say you're a company that's like, well, yeah, we're looking for something that'll knock our socks off. Okay, so they're looking at Blade.ai. They want to know, how's it match up to Harmony.com. Is one of them 300 grand and one of them 7 million? Because then we can start, going, listen, we don't want that car that's 2 million. We'll spend 300,000. Can't we get a nice car? Did you see what they got in China for 300,000? It's unfucking believable. But anyway, so I think if when they do the marketing and they get some big eyes on there, when it's somebody that's browsing around like you've brought them in, there needs to be pricing, because now you're thinking, well, I want to know the price of this one. Well, what are you going to do? Fill out the form for each one? And then the brokers, then they're like, why did you like Blade.ai? And you're like, fuck, I could use any one of these on this. But I guess if a broker qualifies you and knows you are from a big company and you really are, like I said, qualified, he might then tell you, well, that's in this range, this one's in this range, and start giving you some pricing. So I don't know how they're going to work it, but I think in a marketplace, you want to have some pricing there. I don't care if it's even the biggest names, because guys want to know, all right, you're telling us these things are worth it. How can we want to compare them to each other a little bit? And you don't want to have to inquire about each one, to know the pricing. But then again, like I said, if you get a hold of a broker and you're qualified, I'm sure he could, walk you around the car lot and tell you why this one's 10 million and this one's half a million and so on. But um, I like the idea of the pricing, and I like the idea of when they start having some people come in there and you have some names, and I'm saying, I act like, yeah, you're my partner. We don't have any names together, but we have this show together. But I would think, hey, I love sitting on your team thinking, hey, look, these guys are going to spend a few hundred grand. They don't want that bullshit for 2 million. They want something for 3 or 500,000, and you got it. You can, win. And it's like, so it's like, I like to be a little more, I hope, there's some advantages to being more aggressive in that, because there's going to be some guys that are going to think, you know what? I do believe that guys have never invested in domains before. They're big companies, and they're thinking, I like the idea of, if you don't build on it, don't worry. You buy this name for $500,000. If you don't use it, still, we're going to be able to turn around, maybe sell it for $1 million or more in a couple years from now. So we want to, give them every reason to invest. And anyway, I like that, anything's over 6 figures is ultra premium. But any more thoughts on domain names since I'm gabbing there, Josh?
No, not really.
Okay. Yeah, about Darpin was saying that descriptive names are passe. Founders don't want them anymore. Well, that's not completely true, I guess. Especially you get these descriptive names that, it's real descriptive but used for something else. I think somebody made a comment. Yeah, I went to Apple, and unfortunately, I think it was Domain King. Theo. Look forward to meeting him. He said, "Yeah, I went to Apple, and unfortunately, I didn't find any apples." But so Apple is a descriptive name, but not used for that. But what do you think about Darpin's comment that yeah, descriptive names aren't really what founders are looking for?
No, I would 100% agree with that. I think that's been the case for quite some time.
Yeah, in fact, wrote a blog post about this, I think 15 years ago. Picked out some of the new startups that were launching, and the name had nothing to do with what the company was selling. But the names themselves were generics, one word, two words. So there is a market out there for empty vessel name, like Michael Cyger says.
Don't worry, I won't run out of topics. I got all sorts of shit. Hey, I was looking at drop catch, and I saw somebody, the private sellers still have a tough time selling anything. But what do you guys think of a name like deteriorates.com? So that's it's an English word. There's no bids on it. Private sellers trying to sell it. He got it over at Namebright. He's selling it. Sure, yeah. So what would you do with a name like that, Josh? Just offer it seriously, 1995. I mean, how low would you? I'm sure this guy's got it. It looks like for auction. I don't know if there's reserves over there at Drop Catch or not, but if that was in your portfolio for some reason you bought it as part of a group, what would you price deteriorates.com at? Long, single, plural word, huh?
I'd probably like $995. Price it to move. I'd get whatever I could for it, to be honest.
I hope the owner's in the room, but the owner's selling it on Drop Catch, so maybe he's got no reserve and he's just trying to get rid of it. But I got to take a closer look at those private seller listings on Drop Catch because I don't know. I think they do have. I think you can put reserves. But Josh, what about DNX? Is there a chance that you would put huge domains on there or drop catch names? Is that something that you're looking at?
No, huge domains names are on there already.
Right,
So
through
all their entire inventory is on there.
right.
Um, yeah, I mean, if you want to start, if you want to liquidate, your bad names, I think there are plenty of options out there to do so. We've talked about this before, but I that drop catch, being able to liquidate your names if you have your names at Namebright is a nice feature that that is offered by that ecosystem. I think that honestly might be the best way to to go about liquidating names if you have a large portfolio of names that you want to liquidate. The issue is getting them over to Namebright, right? If you have to get them over first, like if you want to liquidate 100 names and they're not at Namebright, you would have to you would have to pay, a decent chunk in transfer fees before you even start the liquidation. So that's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, you're not going to do that. I had a bunch of crappy names. I even took the post down because I'm selling one of them, but I was dropping 72 names. 72. Well, yeah, I would like to have them over at Drop Catch, but I didn't want to pay $700 to transfer them over there or $600 and possibly get about $300 worth of sales. Sure, I'll sell them at no reserve, but nobody wanted, maybe all of them. So I could have transferred them over there and made no sales. And these were names I wasn't going to renew. So why the hell would I fucking transfer them and then renew them there? But I want to sell private seller through Dropcatch. So I got a handful of names over at Namebright, but those aren't ones I want to auction. So I am going to speak with them about, they always do it for some folks. And then, I anyway that maybe you don't have to have it there at Namebright. If we could push it to Namebright's GoDaddy account or something, if we got the names at GoDaddy, because I do like the idea of, and then I do it with some better names, meaning ones that I didn't just plan on dropping. But certainly, Josh, you said the challenge is, yeah, you're dropping names, and now you're going to pay for a renewal over at an, so that's already X's it out. Um, Another thing I wanted to mention was about Unstoppable doing this fast transfer. Pretty cool. I guess they weren't announcing it, but a couple people did find out about it. Pretty pretty important to be part of the fast transfer, do you think, for them? Or do you think some companies aren't part of it and we still get sales, going, I don't know how effective it is. I think better than not having it. But any comments? You think that's a big bonus now? Unstoppable making some, you know, being pretty offensive.
Yeah, I would say that any registrar looking to uh, make a big wave among domain investors does generally needs to get inside the fast transfer network. Although that's shifting a little bit. But when you're competing against other registrars like Dynadot, um, and Namecheap well, I guess Spaceship, although they're not part of the fast transfer network, adding these kind of things into your ecosystem is important. So that's good for them. I think that you know it's interesting because you go to Name Pros and there's a bunch of they're doing the Registrar of the Year thing again, and the a lot of the comments say Unstoppable is the best registrar because they have $5 Fridays and free transfers and $4 or $5 transfers and amazing promos and um, you know I guess I think I like the guys that's Unstoppable, and I think that pricing is an important thing. Um, but investors are just funny because you know what the best registrar is the one that basically takes the biggest loss for domain investors. Is that essentially what we're is that how we're making the judgment? um I think that you know you got to look at things maybe a little bit more um uh what's the word I'm looking for, a little bit more wholly in on more than just pricing. I think that pricing is has to be is an important component. Um, but let's be real. It's like whether it's Unstoppable or Dynadot, registrars can't take losses forever. So eventually, like things have to change, and you need to be the best registrar with the best features and the best UI and the best UX and um, all of these kind of things that are not to do with pricing. And I think that Dynadot do a really good job, and I think a lot of people vote for Dynadot because they do so because they're good on pricing, right? They're not taking a loss, but they're good on pricing, but they also are very domainer friendly. Um, and yeah, listen, I think Unstoppable is going to be a good registrar. And at the beginning, it's pretty common strategy to offer, uh, great savings on transfers and renewals in order to bring people into your ecosystem, get feedback, and continue to build the product. So I think they're doing a good job, and it's good that they've got fast transfer. That's gonna make more investors with large portfolios comfortable, using their promos, and yeah, good for them.
Yeah, they can't win with as soon as they are nice, give low price. People are like, well, you're not really giving anything. This is benefiting you in the long run. Maybe. I mean, they basically what I was saying they can't
Oh,
win
they're
is
they're
they,
giving a lot.
yeah,
They are like, don't get it twisted. Like they're taking these are losses. They're taking large losses to bring in investors. Yeah, you can pencil it in as marketing budget, and that's how I would do it too. Right? It is marketing budget, but like, yeah, they're being very aggressive on pricing, and investors should take advantage of that.
and you mentioned Dynadot. I think it was at the beginning of this year when Todd announced that all extensions you buy at Dynadot, when you register any name, he's selling them at cost plus this very marginal amount. So that's why Dynadot has such great um, prices. He said, it's not like you come here, this extension is good, this one is we price a little high. No, he's got it across the board. So as an investor, just a registrant, certainly appreciate that. I know Unstoppable, like you said, doing some um, promos to get domain investors, and of course, I think they're going to find out firsthand, is it worth it to do this for domain investors? And I think you certainly want to be domain investor friendly. And it seemed to me like there's been more domain investors coming into this space since 2020, just like a lot more. So it may be different than in the past. In the past, I thought domain investors were less important. Not that we were basically almost on our way out with regards to having a good table at the restaurant, because they're like, listen, you guys do your big thing. If you're going to make money at it, pick good names and sell them in the aftermarket. But I didn't expect registrars to care. In registries, they certainly don't seem like they care, because they're like, you guys are making money in the aftermarket. We're going to figure out how to price these premium names so we get a piece of it. We don't want to turn you guys completely off, but the registries, I don't think, are really friendly to the domain investors. Now, then the ones that try end up shooting themselves in the foot, or basically end up being not profitable. They're experiencing this at Unstoppable. They're trying to cater to domain investors. They're using probably like marketing budget to be able to do this. Will it pay off? And I know they're looking around like, we plan on being here a long time, and like the jury's out on that. They're looking over at Todd at Dynadot thinking, how are you doing it? Okay, so you're not offering, but Todd's like, yeah, it's taken me 20 years, bud, 25 years. And now we're getting around the corner. So if you guys want to keep doing some things, you're going to have some wins, some losses. We'll see where you're at 10 years down the road. I think Unstoppable probably in about 5 or 6 years of this thing. And really only about 2 as a registrar, because they shifted with what they were doing. So it's just a long road. I appreciate, that they're making the effort to appeal to domain investors, even though I haven't taken advantage of any of their fucking low price stuff. I don't have any names there, but I do like that you have an issue with them. Sounds to me like you had an issue with Unstoppable. I'd rather have an issue over there with a name than over at Sav. Sounds like some places you can get a hold of people. Some of these registrars you can't. So I definitely like the idea of not going, I want to get a hold of Matt, the CEO. But Brady is very accessible, and even others there and their support. So you absolutely got to give them credit for that. But I do know domain investors, they get a fucking great rate, and they're like, yeah, don't act like you're doing something for us. You're doing it for you. Fucking, they're doing it. No, they're doing it for you right now. They're hoping it pays off for them. But believe it, they're doing it for you right now, and they're hoping scratching your back first means it's going to come back to them in a good way. And listen, it doesn't always work out that way. Yeah, there was and I look at that I wanted to mention, because I had it on the outline for this show for a couple weeks, and that was the GGRG. So Giuseppe, I think he's still over there. He was in Portugal for a long time. I think he moved to Spain, or he moved to fucking Dubai somewhere. These guys, it sounds so exotic to me. I think, I just live here in the United States like a hillbilly. Yeah. All right. Go down to the Amish store. Um, and But anyway, he does this quarterly report. And really, it's just gathering numbers, mostly from escrow.com. But at least he puts them together. And I like that if you ever, we got a link on our DNX.show. You want to check it out. But there's a pretty cool, he puts together a report, and he says, what you missed in Q3, 10 stats that tell the story. Well, one thing, public sales, he writes this in his thing, public sales fell sharply this quarter, dropping by 81.61% to 4.36 million. Well, Josh, I think when you weren't here in the room, when you were going to your office, I was saying, there's always a few, if Braden, Andrew Miller, or Andrew Rosner say it, I said I'm inclined to believe them when, and I know it's true that there's a lot of 6, 7, some 8-figure, maybe 9, they'll tell you 10-figure sales that aren't reported. We know that. But people just love to build that up. There's a lot of stuff happening you don't know about, and we're in these private chats, and there's a lot of shit. Okay, well, we're already, us that aren't involved in some of the stuff, we know about the efficient market theory, meaning, yeah, we're considering all that shit that's not reported. All the billions of dollars that domain, all the top guys don't report that they want us to fucking guess about. I know an Andrew, a lot of NDAs. The point is, in this public, all the public stuff, it dropping 81% to 4.3 million. I guess, this is the third quarter in 2025 from the third quarter in 2024. That does say something to me about the data. This is the data of the public sales. So if I learned that there was a big platform that published public sales and then they no longer did, like say a huge domains or an afternick or something like that, and I think, all right, it makes sense. But if we get the same reporting from those same entities in Q3 2024 and we're seeing this big drop in Q3 2025, it still is some data how heavy you weight it in your fucking decisions. Okay, but anyway, what do you think? Does that mean anything? The public sales for the Q3 in 2025 have dropped off, from say 8 million down to 4.3 million a year later?
No, I don't pay any attention to that at all.
Okay, I want you to start looking at that real close. I knew you were going to say that anyway, but it does it does make sense if what I said is correct. If it was the same reporting companies and it was, identical, I don't know what possibly has changed, and it surely could have, then it does give a little indication of, or I guess you would think why, it just begs the question why
Yeah, I really, really, really struggle with industry taking escrow numbers as some sort of industry metric as opposed to their own company performance metrics. It's like very confusing to me. Do you not agree with that?
yeah, I mean, well,
This
escrow.com,
is a company's business metrics.
yeah,
It's
well, I
not
need to know.
this isn't anything to do with our industry.
Well, I need to know what escrow's doing too, because didn't they had a lot of changes there too. Are they really marketing domain sales? I don't remember. That was like a big percentage,
Right,
like 70 or 80% of
exactly.
their sales for a
It's
while.
just very, very you know, I think it's a big stretch to take that as a domain industry report. It's not an industry report. It's escrow's personal business report on how they do how they're doing with domain names. Um, you
Yeah, when
know,
I said
I just
sales too, there I meant transactions. But yeah, so Josh, when Drew's got 7 of them, probably get 8. I can't wait to. I got things to say about Matt, about Drew. I can't wait to talk. I'm gonna talk. But anyway, when it comes to so Drew getting 7 in a row, it's something to acknowledge. But true, you're like, all right, so you're the biggest customer at escrow, basically. Some other guys, they might split it up amongst one in-house attorneys doing their own escrow, other attorneys doing escrow. But I agree with you about escrow.com. It was like 70-80% of their transactions I thought were. Um, Drew said a bunch of cool stuff about it that I was like, I remember the numbers, but he was saying like he was 20% or maybe 30% of their whole domain business. I mean, a substantial amount. I'd have to listen again, but then it makes me think, all right, so is the escrow.com domain transaction business growing? I know they got rid of Sophia. When I say got rid of, I don't know how it ended up, but I know she's over at Media Options now. But usually, if it's just, growing and bursting, growing at a real fantastic pace, you're keeping the people there unless they're stealing from you. You're keeping them there. You're not, thinning out your staff. But I don't know. But I look forward to asking, when Matt Berry is there at NamesCon. I know he's giving away awards, but yeah, I have all sorts of like. So, what is the story? And well, gosh, who are the competitors to escrow.com right now?
yeah, I mean escrow domains. they would be the big one that are handling some pretty large deals that I'm aware of. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, 6-figure deals are going through GoDaddy, Cedo, Spaceship, and other smaller platforms pretty frequently, even FD. But GoDaddy are getting 6-figure sales every day. So 7-figure sales, there are a lot more of those are going to go through escrow.com. But yeah, I think that there's not really a shortage of options in terms of where you can transact these days, and I think that most people still on 7-figure transactions are still going to go through escrow.com, and probably like most 6-figure deals as well. But I don't know, for me, anything under 150K, I'm probably avoiding escrow.com, and I know a lot of other people are as well.
Yeah, and
Atom. I mean, Atom. How many Atom are doing loads of 6-figure and 7-figure deals, and they're not always going through escrow.com, and they're using their own service.
yeah, I look forward to hearing Darpin talk about Atom Pay, because I guess, and I know Stephen Lieberman over there at escrowdomains.com. I mean, at escrow.domains, he's got both of them. That I know they do transactions. How many I'm not real familiar with, but I know it's small compared to escrow.com, and but I wanted to shout out to, I guess, Kevin Copas is now working at Stephen Lieberman's company, like the law firm, but they launched a registrar. Did you hear anything about that?
About Atom launching a
No,
registrar?
about Lieberman and his partner. He runs
Oh no.
escrow. Yeah, so because I saw Kevin Copas posted, it must have been on LinkedIn just today. Was it today or yesterday that he posted and said he's taken a job with them. He's no longer at that other company that had the extensions. He was working with .cyu and .icu and .cfd. Listen, this is just from memory. I just talked with Kevin, and know Kevin from our events and talking with him on here and stuff. That he was working. He worked for other companies for years. I think he worked for. Did he work for Frank back in the day? He worked at maybe at Snap.
He was with
Maybe,
.org
huh? Which one?
and .org. And the company that manages all those TLDs is Shortcut.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so his whole history being in the domain space, but now he got a job, vice president of something at Lieberman, and I forget his partner. I should know it. I talked to him anyway. But then they said we were launching a registrar. Did you hear anything about that, Summit?
No, I didn't even know he moved to Lieberman's office. But he's an old industry hand. He's been around forever. And I think he's going to do well in any case.
Yeah. No,
He's
I mean,
been all over the place.
I like that everybody, everybody knows each other and they move around. I really like Tess Diaz. I consider a friend of mine, and and for like 4 companies that been in this space. I feel like maybe 4 or 5. Same with like Joe. Now both of them are over at it.com. But yeah, in this space, you show that you have. I mean, you're a professional and you have good connections. Think you can take those with you to new places. But yeah, I just bring up Stephen Lieberman because I like to talk to him every once in a while, and I like that he got involved in it was called Nikki, a payment platform, and we're still building at paynow.com. I mean, it's pretty exciting, I got to say. No one really cares about the ease of having a domain name as your wallet address, because they think, well, I can do that at GoDaddy. I saw Shane posted about that. You can do that. Yeah, there's all sorts of limitations. Of course, they're saying that's going to change soon if these off-chain fucking domain using, setting up your, turning on your DNS sec and creating these text records. There's just it's not the same as um, doing it on chain. And I will say, apparently, Doma, which is D3, is partnered with ENS for something. I thought there was a space today I was going to try to listen to this morning because I wanted to hear what D3 and ENS were, doing together. It's basically you're just using the ENS protocol, and they let you, come on, use it. They're happy. But okay, so I don't know, I touched on so many things there. Um,
Yeah, that's the space I was talking about earlier.
oh, that was it. So they were. It wasn't Domora. It was D3. Yeah, you said Domora earlier because that's a different company. One is
Confusing stuff.
yeah. Um, all right, there was let me see here. Oh, that's a UDRP thing I was going to bring up. But no, profit.com, there's a case we did, and interesting, it was a UDRP case. Somebody tried to get profit.com from a guy, but it did uncover that it was sold for 1.1 million EU in 2022. I don't know, is that less or more than 1.1 million US, Josh?
How much?
1.1 EU, is that like 1.5 US, or is that
Yeah, probably like
800 US? I can't remember.
1.3, 1 point, yeah.
I can't remember. I don't do any. The only transactions I did was like shipping horses from fucking Spain to here, and I just knew it was robbery, whether it was US or whether it was whatever type of money. Um, Let me go back to my outline. It's at DNX.show. We're going to be doing this for another 30 minutes. Anybody want to join and talk about? We've touched on a lot of topics. We still have a lot more to go. You're not going to get us flustered, fucked up. Get us. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. I do appreciate it. About there was something not domain related, just so I could fill some time. One who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Was that right after you left church? Who? That sounds like an Aristotle thing to me, but then I think it was something from the Bible. Why did you mention that, Josh? And where did you get that phrase?
I think it is a biblical phrase. Luke mentioned where it was from in the post. Listen, whether you're religious or not religious, I think there's a lot of teachings and wise lessons that you can learn from some of these um, some of these you know quotes, let's call them. And most Sundays I try to think of something that is applicable to or front of mind in my life, and put it out there into the Twitterverse.
Yeah, boy, I'd hate to be the person that crossed you. Huh. You get mad. Like I said, I laugh when I was thinking about us partying on the West End. It's young guys, and you telling me, yeah, it's a good shirt. Quit looking at it, fuck face. I can imagine you trying. I'm like, don't shove my shoulder. You're like, what? What are you gonna do? I'm like, the fuck? Come on, there. Oh, look at her. Okay, so listen, there was somebody I really liked was this kid. I like Alex. I used to talk to him on Clubhouse. He's fucking cool. I mean, basically just a builder, doesn't mess around. He sold dual.net and dual.org. And the prices, the net was 38 grand. The other one's like 23, but you thought he had them backwards. I understand what you meant. That you were like, geez, the .org, you'd like that better. But what do you think of those names, and why do you think he priced them right? Tell us about that, Josh.
Yeah, sure. So I think you priced them right because, the it's not an amazing SLD, but it is decent. All the other alts are like basically for sale. And I don't think that the sorry, I got a call come through there. I don't think the .net and the .org are necessarily the most valuable ones, right? The .ai is on the market, the .co is on the market, the .xyz is on the market.
Hey, we can hear you good, but there's static, like when you're talking, right around your.
I don't know. Someone called me and probably messed it up.
No, it
Can
was
you
before
hear me?
that. It was before that too. But we can hear you fine, but there's just like static with it. It doesn't sound like there's any static with me. I sound fantastic. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm on my phone. Normally my phone is good, but yeah, I don't know. I'll
That's
try
cool.
to speak a
Well,
little bit clearer.
it's okay. We only got another 25 minutes. Summit, real
I,
fast. Can you
how
hear
about
the
this?
static on this?
I'll do some listening instead of stop asking me questions, and then you won't have to hear it.
I want to know if anybody else. Summit, can you hear that static?
No, I can't.
Oh,
I'm hearing DNX.
it's probably then me.
Lots
So don't sweat it because I hear it on you now too. But okay, hey Brad, since you're here, and no, so well, hold on before we get to Brad. Please, Brad, be patient. So quickly about that. So do you think he did swap the price, and do you think that the org should have been? Would you have priced the org more on duel.org?
Yeah. Just let me finish that thought then. Basically the others are priced pretty high, and I think that the buyer in this case is most likely the .com owner, and they probably bought the .net and the .org for brand protection purposes. And in the price range that he had them priced in a range where it kind of makes sense to do that. When they're priced, at 90, 100, 150K, which the other alt TLDs are, I think you're kind of pricing yourself out of a lot of companies, that might be willing to just snap it up from a brand protection standpoint.
Phantasm. All right, hope everybody has a good Halloween coming up. Hey, Brad, nice to have you here. What's going on with you today?
Hi. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Josh. I was just outside working on my bougainvillea that's overgrown, and I was listening to you on my phone, got too hot, so it turned off. So I missed the last one. I'm inside, but I just wanted to bring. There was a number of things that were interesting, but the last thing that I think is a significant one in that subtle is what Josh did post about friends. You know, we're we're in a scenario in this country, and particularly on the internet, where we're overwhelmed and overloaded with information, and a lot of it is not healthy, or it's toxic, or it's threatening. And I think that affects all of us, regardless if we're in a domain field or what business or family. And so I thought it was a nice gesture, Josh, to put out that it is in the Old Testament as well. It's a psalm, but or a proverb. But the friendship is one of the most rare and precious qualities to know about. Some people don't even know their friend is an AI bot, and so the work that you do, Todd, and Josh, and on your domain law show with David, Michael, and Jeff Newman, you're creating a community where we not necessarily know each other as friends, but you sense a camaraderie and a sense of common purpose that's not, hurting people or judging someone in a negative way. And I just wanted to, reinforce that aspect of how the domain space or this group is a healthy experience to interact with in this, time of division and polarization.
Well,
I just
thanks,
wanted to
Brad.
kind of say that
Yeah, no, thanks
first.
for saying that. And I usually judge negatively and privately. I'll do that. Not, I'm just kidding. But no,
Yeah, no,
look,
your humor
yeah.
is part of being a friend with someone. You know what I mean? Friends kind of have a sense of self-deprivation on a level when
It is
if
true.
they're not so
Barry Hill always would say
paranoid
that.
or
He said that to me. I'd
insecure.
say things, make fun because I like you. And I'm like, no, I'll be doing this to you. He's used to doing it to people. But it is true. And all in, let me look. There was somebody that wanted to get up earlier that didn't have any followers. I knew they were fishy, but just to prove this other gentleman to come up here. Somebody new wants to say something. But before I let him say anything, I wanted to say, yeah, Brad, I agree with you. Everybody's arguing about who's the divisive side, especially when we talk about politics, but who's the divisive people? And then they argue about who's divisive. It's unbelievable, but it is true. It's just weird that in the old days, you didn't, people had big differences and we still were just tight friends. We were still tight friends. Now, it seems less that way, but there are some people that are just instigators of division, and some of us think we recognize who those people are, and some people think no, that's not them, and it's like, well, already, okay, we don't have to argue about it, but uh, everybody has a right to feel a certain way themselves, and then some people just don't want to get close to people that see things differently in this world anymore. And we're definitely, the one true thing is we're all a lot more alike than we're different. It's just terrible that um, people there, that we let the anger and sometimes the hate even get involved in anything. But anyway, I
Oh,
love
you know,
domain
it's
community is,
kind of celebrated,
you know,
unfortunately. But you know what is different now is the bot trolls. There is these automated, hate mongers that just put out, counter unhealthy stuff, and it works for a certain segment of the population. And our brain cannot handle, the constant bombardment of all that information. You know, the 500 years ago, most people didn't even have a book to read. You know what I mean? So their brain was engaged in working outside or doing their craft. And now, I have three grandsons, and the littlest one, they're trying to keep him away from the iPhone. But anything that you look that has a flat screen, you're bombarded with temptation of images, and it's overwhelming. And now it's designed deception when it's regarding these bots. And even Sam Altman was saying that now a majority, or at least a large portion of social media is bots. So
yeah.
just think about that. How do we find a real friend, or is that real? And so
There were
just
enough people,
questioning
Brad, that
that.
were already causing issues, being dickheads, and now we got bots doing it. But anyway, Askia, it's nice to have you here. Sorry for my language. Sometimes I get a little frisky here. During the second hour, we go for 20 more minutes. It's nice to have you, Askia. Tell us about yourself and what comment did you have?
Man, it's your brother Rico, man. I just want to say, hey, how you doing, man? I keep missing your talks, man. I catch you guys on the replay all the time, man. I see a lot of familiar faces, man. So I want to jump in and just say hello, Todd. And you've always been there for me, man. I always enjoy listening to you, man. So just want to, Ski is my government name, but you know me as Rico, man. So I just wanted to
Right, and
come in and
I
just say
knew
hello,
that
man.
too. I knew that name, but I was like, oh, I never see you with this account. But no, this is a good friend of mine, Rico. I mean, man, talk about we just obviously talking about friendship, and Brad was saying some of these guys I've never been with Rico in person. It doesn't matter now. Jeff Newman, I have, of course, and I do business with him. He was talking about my co-host, and you know that. So we're more than friends. We're colleagues, and we do quite a bit together, more than folks know with regards to business. And David Michaels, I consider him a colleague, and we'll do some business together too. But I never met David in person. Josh, I have. But of course, when you do these shows, you you it's it you have a friendship because you're both. You know, I'm looking down there and I see. I thought I saw Shane here. But when you go to these running clubs, listen, if somebody just shows up every week, you start I mean, you admire them, but you're proud that they're there. But you become friends, and sometimes you run at different paces, but you still can. You start building friendships. Just that consistency of seeing somebody. So certainly the guys that I do any of these podcasts with, I would never have wanted to do, say, with Josh, if I didn't think I wanted to become his friend as well. And that's like when I do with Paul and Chad. Those are my guys. Those are my friends. And I consider that definitely with, I said Josh, Jeff, and David. But thanks for the comment, Brad. And Rico, it's fantastic. Of course, it's time for us to catch up. So I'll just give you a ring and see what's going on. But fucking thanks for coming up here and saying something to me anyway. Like I didn't.
Absolutely, man. I just want to just say this, man. I appreciate what you and Josh are doing. Normally with my schedule, I usually have to catch like on Fridays afternoon, but man, Todd, you've always been just a leader in this space. And Josh, I always check you out on the Sherpa, so I see some familiar faces. I see Paul, I see Ish. So it's always good to, when I can, jump in and just be around the community, man, because you learn so much. So I just want to just pop in and say hello, man. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, man.
Hell yeah. All right. No, thank you, Rico. Talk to you soon. Anyway, Essential Domains, what's going on with you? Nice to have you here. I believe that's, am I right, Terry?
Hi, Todd. Yeah, sorry about. I'm actually outside now. Thanks for everything you guys do. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
What's up with all these thanks that we're getting these days, huh? Todd, what did you do to all these people? They don't like us.
Well, I can say it because I haven't met Todd personally either, or you, Josh. So from this distance, I dig you guys.
Brad, I gotta say, okay, I'm gonna say it. I feel the same way. And Brad, your stories of just everything, not about, I know you're a sculptor, but really it's just the music business, your family, just a lot of cool history. I mean, I know we get along, but no, I feel the same way. We haven't met in person. We certainly will.
Really, no, I know, me too. We're definitely some.
That's why I say about, I say as grown men, and it's mostly as men in here. I do see Marie there. It's nice to have her here. Mostly men in the domain space, but I always say as whether you're man or woman, business people, my whole thing was not judging people, but trying to know who do I believe is for real, no fakers, because it's like you don't have time in your life, and I don't like to be directed down a wrong road, and I don't like people that, it's just really authentic, obviously, and I never really use that word, but that's like sometimes when we're in business, I've always thought, yeah, this guy's full of bullshit, or this guy's a gangster, or this guy's dangerous, and you like to know earlier rather than late. So I've always been. I love when you don't feel that about somebody, when you feel like they're genuine, and people can see it in your eyes. But I know I've been every place, and people know. It's just like with animals. They know you're a fucking problem. They can tell, usually in your eyes. Definitely if you're a tailgater, you're a prick. Okay. Hey, Terry, what else did you want to say? Go ahead.
No, just great to be what you do in the space, and hope to see a lot of you in Miami.
Well, yeah, it's going to be beautiful. I mean, I really look forward to it. I was going to mention about there was one. Oh, Braden said that Bitcoin.ai name got transferred back to the owner. Anybody know anything about that? Did you hear about that, Josh? Know any further details?
Blockchain.ai?
Oh yeah, Blockchain.ai. Sorry, Bitcoin.
It got transferred back to the old owner.
Braden said that on a post. Somebody said, "What do you think about this name selling for this amount?" And Braden said, "Well, it didn't sell for that amount. It got transferred back to the owner." And I haven't talked with any lawyers in the last couple days. Last 2 days, I'll talk with some right after this.
Interesting.
But usually they know, so we'll find out. But yes, I didn't sound like it's what Braden said, and
I don't know. I don't know about it. I haven't spoken to Braden, but yeah, I think we talked about it last week. That even if you were the buyer of that name, there is some heavy baggage going along with that, and as soon as that name sold for the price that it did, I'm sure the previous owner became even more motivated. I know that the earlier 100K for the name, so yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some serious pressure being put on various people on the side, on the registrar side, and probably with Namecheap too.
On each of you that are speaking, I hear static. I hope it's not for anybody else. Brad, let me ask you. I heard it when you, Brad, is everybody clear to you?
Yeah, that was pretty clear. But I just wanted to ask Josh about what he just said. When that there is some, heavy pressure, was that about needing to generate a high price for the marketplace kind of pressure?
No, no, I meant pressure from because pressure from the previous registrant, because I know that they hired legal help, I think, to try and retrieve the name. So there will have been some lawyers involved.
Okay. Well, maybe a domain name law show, Todd, next week. But I'm in the middle of negotiating a domain name, like my domain names, Hero, HEAR, and a intellectual property attorney from Canada contacted me the other day about, he has clients that want to buy it. And to make a long story short, Priscilla, he like 9 years broker, a different broker handling it. I don't have a broker. And all he wanted to do, and I spoke with David Michael about this during this. He just wanted to know if he could do a UDRP on it. He you know what I mean? Basically, I'm asking if you're the original owner.
Oh my gosh.
I know it was really painful.
What name is that? Did you say hero.com?
Yes, HEARO.
Oh, okay.
It's about a refined wisdom and listening deeper. And I I I, I
That's a
love
great
this name. Josh, it has a lot of potential, and I have a package of all of them. But in any event, this is a Swiss company that has a.
You want to be careful with the Swiss and the French. I've got nothing against the French and the Swiss, but they're very just when it comes to trying to take domains from rightful owners.
Right. No, Canadian.
Yeah, I know.
Into the scheme of things, about there are some unscrupulous people in this field as well. So it's true, Todd. You got to be careful.
We'll bring that up. So it was HEAR, like here, and then O on the end. Hero.com. I don't know why I'm having issues, but all right. I mean, I'm having issues listening to you guys, but if you guys can hear each other, that's good. We're going to be going 10 more minutes. Just had UFO come on up. Let's see. Oh, he's here. Hey, nice to have you up here. What's going on? What's your comment today?
Kind of, I guess, fine line between, you know what, you're probably paying up a little bit more than you want to, but there is the risk of them raising the price. So what kind of goes through your mind on when is it worth it to try to, throw a little bit of a lower offer in? I'm not saying really low ball, as opposed to just paying outright in those examples for, names that you feel are good value in that price point.
That is a phenomenal question, man, and I agree with you that there is no right answer. But yeah, I mean, listen, I put in on behalf of lots and lots of domain investors and non-domain investors as well, end users. I put in a lot of offers on a lot of names every day, on names that I'm interested in as well. And I would say that most domain names, I would say 75% of the time, they're negotiable and people will work with you. When there is like a very, very obvious name that you think, oh, that one's underpriced, and it's a relatively new listing as well. Those are the ones where it gets like a little bit risky when you start putting in an offer, because when someone lists a name and then immediately someone comes in and makes a quick offer for it, like the person selling it, I think is getting red flags, saying like, oh, did I price this too low, or what's going on here? And I think in that circumstance, we see quite often that someone will say like, hey, we're going to raise the price, or you can take it at Ben. And then occasionally we'll also get people that just raise the price immediately. Um, um, so I would say the risk goes up if it's a newer listing and the price like strikes you as pretty enticing right off the bat. I personally, the last 12 months, my buying strategy is, if I see a name that I like, I pay more than what what I'm used to be comfortable paying. If it's a name that I would used to say like, oh, I pay 5K for that, I might pay 7K for it today, or 8K for it, just because um, I think getting the right type of names is more important than getting the right, or getting the price that you think is right.
Yeah, I think the other dynamic too that I'm just starting to realize is that it depends what platform you're using, and I'll elaborate. Meaning, if it's like on a WhatsApp group or other, like if a domain investor knows that it's a domain investor, and it's in that channel, which we all know, WhatsApp groups, name pros, etc. It's a little bit different, I think, because maybe there's a bit more willingness. But I feel a lot of times that if it's through Afternic or through DNX or through CEDA or like through a broker or something like that, that I think that it is even harder to you're playing even with more fire by trying to get it a little lower, because they don't know who the person is acquiring it, right? Or who is inquiring. Where in
100%.
those other channels, it's a little bit more willingness to maybe, hey, you know what, domainer to domainer, they just got the name for $1,000, I'll give you 3,000 or something like that, as opposed to them having it listed for 20 and you're coming at at whatever. I just think that's another angle too, is that it maybe depends on the platform and how you're actually going about, or where the availability that you have to see the name that you're inquiring on as well.
Yeah, and the price point as well, I think is important, right? If the name is, 10 grand, I think that, most of the time it's okay to, put in an offer. If the name is $500, I think that you can still, like you said, if it's domainer to domainer on name pros, like putting in an offer, like all cool, right? But on like a more of like a retail based platform like an Afternic or a Cedo or what have you, I think that you're less likely to get the result that you want in on those lower value names.
Yep, correct. Cool. All right, we're on the same page. Thanks for answering that question.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, we had a pretty fantastic show today. I wanted to say, yeah, to Brad about that Blockchain.ai. Yeah, we'll try to get to the bottom of that and really just see what happened there, how it transpired, and went back to the owner, and why there wasn't a bigger, why they didn't sort of argue. If it did go back, why didn't um, Identity Digital and Namecheap make an argument? They must have seen the light that this guy really did try to renew it. But we'll get to that. We're going to shut down just a few minutes early today to give us a chance to get ready for our noon call. That's me. But listen, thanks, Josh, for all the time today. And fucking, I asked you 400 questions, but I know everybody appreciates always hearing from you. Look forward to seeing you. I want to tell everyone, of course, what's Saturday-ish does a room. There's always some pop-up spaces here, but it's fun to talk domains. So, thanks for joining us. You can catch us here, every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Of course, I do the Domain Name Law Show on Tuesdays with Jeff and David. That's noon Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And then I missed a room earlier today. I love anything, even if it's, about fractionalizing and tokenizing, as long as it's not a topic that I'm having to lead on that. I want to listen and find, basically let some people get in the water first with that stuff. But I'm interested always about the news that's happening in the space. So thanks for everybody for being here. Enjoy the rest of the day wherever you're at. We'll see you next week, and hopefully before then, right here on X in another space. But take care, everybody.
Thanks, Todd.